Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming. It's me, of course, Argent, along with Nazbol Gang, who's decided to join me again as my intrepid co-host.
Hey,
So,
man.
yeah, thanks everybody for showing up.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, you're coming in okay.
Okay, so do you think that the United Kingdom is a stable in a state is currently stable as a government?
Okay, before we get into that, just to introduce the topic. So today we're going to be talking about the failure of democracy in Europe. So the thesis here, and it's perhaps a bit optimistic, is that the current democratic system has proven itself to be completely incapable of dealing with the problems of the 2010s, or however you want to call it. And there's no real peace. I don't know if peaceful is the right term, but it just is. Democracy is just proving incapable of dealing with it one way or the other, either in our direction or our opponent's direction. And so the question is it going to last in the long term? And my friend, you tend to be a lot more optimistic about this than I do.
What do you mean? I don't
Because
know.
you think, like, sorry?
Define how I'm more optimistic. I think
You
that
think you think things are gonna collapse and there's gonna be a happening at some point?
I don't consider that optimistic because I mean, would you want to live in Sarajevo in Yugoslavia?
No, I just think it's gonna go on like indefinitely.
Oh, I think it has to do with probably you're far more technologically optimistic than me. But I tend to view the future as technological stagnation.
Right.
That's neither here nor there, and that's like a
I mean,
really
just the other thing, and this is kind of the approach that it is I have people have said it's happening so many times in my lifetime. I just my default is like even when I was just normie stuff, like people like, oh, North Korea is gonna invade Canada. China's gonna nuke us. No, like people were legitimately worried that North Korea was gonna invade Canada.
um
And
we talked about North Korea a little bit. We shouldn't laugh at North Korea and point at them and be like, they're a Haiti. North Korea is capable of getting satellites into orbit. They're long on the path of developing ICBMs. They have nuclear capability. In fact, North Korea, in many ways, is a more powerful state than Pakistan in its military.
Okay, well, we can talk about North Korea's military some other time. I don't want to get off on that tangent. So there's in Europe, there's been just a whole bunch of stuff that's been going on lately. The Yellow Vest movement, Brexit, Swedish election, Vox winning a couple seats in Spain. I'd like to start off with France and the Yellow Vests. So I think the thing that kind of the question mark for me is Macron won a pretty overwhelming victory.
Mhm.
Like he won and his party won a huge majority in the House of Delegates or whatever, the National Assembly.
Yeah.
So like the whole people protesting against him thing is really weird because like he just was overwhelmingly popular at his election.
Yeah, but I think you should view it more as wow, my brain just slipped. Le Pen was overwhelmingly unpopular with a plural with a she was popular with a she was the largest plurality, wasn't she? Or did he beat her in plurality in the first round?
I'm just bringing it up the first
Yeah.
round. First round, it was close to a tie.
Okay.
She got 21 and he got 24.
Okay. So she had
And then
powerful plurality.
and Melanchon also got 20. So it was very close.
The thing with the reason that Macron won is because of the deep unpopularity of Hollande destroyed the socialists as a bloc. Is that how you pronounce his name? If you look at all the French presidents,
Hollande
has a popularity similar to Macron. It doesn't really have to do with their election. Their popularity generally declines over time. So I mean, like Macron's current approval rating is like 20%, and he's about 1 year into his term, right?
Right.
Which is kind of.
I mean, let me what it would be, what the polls are at the moment, because I kind of think he'd probably win re-election at this point.
I think that.
Yeah, he's tied with Le Pen. They're both at 28%.
Yeah, but I think that the de Gaulle's party would probably win right now. The Republicans.
They're really far behind.
Oh, they are?
Yeah,
I guess
they're only at 10.
Fucking up this video.
Sorry?
I guess I'm fucking up this video. I'm sorry. I thought that. So they just have the disproportionate. So they just have the disproportionate.
They're all post these. There hasn't been a poll. The last one was only in December, so it might be out of date. It's probably out of date by now, but.
Hollande had an approval rating of 63% when he was elected. He like for a large period of his presidency, he drifted below 20%. And in 2016, he had about 4%, which is like equal to Boris Yeltsin.
That's like what Congress's approval rating is.
Yeah. So Hollande wasn't good, and now Macron is following the trends. So there's this trend within the French presidency. You have to remember the French Fifth Republic, because it was created and designed under the supervision of de Gaulle when he came to power in 58 in a quasi-coup, was extremely executive run compared to, say, the United States. And I mean, you know, parliamentary systems have no executive. So
which just a side note, I actually kind of like that.
You like the Francis?
I like having a really strong executive.
Oh, okay. As opposed to the strong like government.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
I just want an unpowerful judicial branch. That's.
Oh yeah, I completely agree with you there.
But I like having a powerful presidency.
What's Macron's current?
Oh, the Front National has renamed their party.
Yeah,
it's now the National Rally.
She's a disappointment across the board. But as I said before, you should vote because of the extremely low cost. Okay. 71% of French people have no confidence. This is from October. Yeah, there's.
Macron's current net approval rating is negative 44%, and the Prime Minister's net approval rating is negative 33%. So they're both so extremely unpopular, but I kind of feel like they'd probably win if there was another election held tomorrow. Like, you always have to wonder though just how much of it is like NPCs voting based on how the media tells them. And I know that's kind of a bunch of
the French have less NPCs though, because as you said before, I mean, more of the French population, the native French population, I now have to say, is far left or far right, which means that they're not NPCs. Now, I don't know that much about the French far left, to my embarrassment here, but is the French far left like super cucks, or are there tankies there, or
it runs the gambit. They're really fucking weird because like for a while they said that feminism was bourgeoisie.
So they were like tankies.
Yeah, and the communists actually won an election post World War II, but they broke with the Soviet Union.
Yeah,
Um, it's really France is weird. France has the strongest far right and the strongest far left of any country in Europe, more or less. And
I
it's
think that
always been
that's
that
kind
way.
of the problem that you get within these European democracies is you kind of have this dictatorship of the center. In a country like Germany, where like the CDU just holds power over and over again, and it affects.
Highest positive atheism rates on Earth.
Yeah, well, I mean, as you said with Canada, if Canada abolished single district plurality, the Liberal Party would just control the country indefinitely.
Yeah.
Basically is a single party state, and I mean that's what it currently is happening in Germany.
Mm-hmm.
So you get this impasse, I think, in France, where everybody that will be elected, no matter what, will be extremely unpopular. I mean, the generals have just denounced Macron a few weeks ago, haven't they, as a traitor for signing the UN migration resolution? The Yellow Vest movement, I haven't looked into it because it's kind of in a media blackout. Unlike,
I was gonna say, like, I don't know what happened with it. Did they crush it or?
oh no, it's going on as strong as ever. I think the last week had the strongest because it got cold. What happened was less people showed up, but it became more violent because of that in the previous weeks because of the intensification of winter. The Yellow Vest movement is going pretty strong, from my understanding. Although it should be noted that I'm going through Daily Stormer because that's the only media source I think that.
On Wikipedia, they say it's gone up since December.
Okay.
The last.
Well, I thought
also last week.
Saturday. I thought last Saturday more people showed out because it became warmer.
Okay, so not many people showed up December 29th for obvious reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Last week though, January 5th, a lot more people showed up.
Yes, that's what I'm talking. That's what I was talking about.
Mm-hmm. But the question is, like, what are they? Do we don't really know what their demands are, like, because hasn't Macron caved on most things?
Yeah, but there isn't really. It's not necessarily something based on demand. There's no central leadership. It's essentially all the groups in opposition to Macron's government rallying at the same time. And what's interesting about it is they're not fighting each other. I know, as far as I know, they're not fighting each other. Because like, for instance, according to the Daily Stormer, again, it's not the best source to use, highly biased, right? It's like using CNN, but for the right. It's been common for reporters that are talking to people for Frenchmen to walk up and scream Macron is a puppet of the Jews.
Oh,
live TV, yeah. And they're burning down like newspapers and stuff now.
but like, there's been a media blackout. Like I haven't heard anything about it on the news in like a month.
Yeah.
I don't know if you found that, but I find like all the mainstream media sources are just desperately trying to, like,
I think that it
prevent anyone from
scares them so much is that it's normies that are protesting higher taxes alongside communists and like French nationalists. Like they're all getting there along together. I think that that's completely and absolutely terrifying to Western.
They all hate the Eurocrats and the elitists, the elite and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, look at somebody like Macron. He's a completely like this bureaucrat who has no connection. It's just like, how could you?
Wasn't he connected to a whole bunch of like banks and stuff?
Well, he was a banker, and then he was appointed by the the Social Democratic government. I don't want to use socialist for them because obviously, if you're in the European Union, you're not a socialist. But he was appointed by that as a kind of this technocrat banker, and then he broke away from the party to run the worst imaginable platform, and because he was just this unknown, because you have to realize something that happens is he's basically like a French Obama. Nobody knows who he is. He comes out of nowhere,
I mean, I think
does all these things so that people can put themselves on top of him, their own views on top of him, and that's kind of what happened. Why he ended up beating Macron, who got third place in the first round again. Was it Fillon?
I think it was Fillon.
Yeah. The other thing is Fillon split the vote of Le Pen and Fillon split each other's votes because, from my understanding, in some respects, Fillon is to the right of Le Pen because Le Pen has cucked her party so much. The other
Le
thing
Pen did promise to repeal gay marriage if she got elected.
Oh, okay. And then
so,
the other
I mean,
thing,
like, people will call her like a liberal and shit, but she promised to reintroduce the death penalty. So,
that's pretty sexy.
Well, okay, to be fair, what it was is she's like, we're going to have a referendum and the options are going to be life without parole or the death penalty.
Isn't if you put it on a referendum in any country, it'll universally win?
Other than Ireland. The only place that's ever abolished the death penalty, I think, through referendum is Ireland.
Well, Ireland's not a country. It's a suicide pact.
It's funny because Ireland is repealing blasphemy laws. And the only people who are against it is the Islamic groups.
Yeah, because they're hate speech laws, right?
No, they're like you can't slander the Catholic, you can't slander religious groups. It's left over from like when Ireland was more Catholic.
Well, Ireland was an officially Catholic state until the 1970s.
Yeah.
Until like 73, I believe.
So like it's from that, it's not from like a political correctness thing.
Again, like the French left vote was split 3 ways in the election.
Right. Well, I mean that's part of the
it was effectively a 4-way race. All of them were within 5% of each other, which is astonishing. Because Macron in the first round got 24%, Le Pen got 23.3%, Fillon got 20%, and Mélenchon got 19.6%. So they're all within 5% of each other. Actually, 4.5%. Like, it was a 4-way.
I think Fillon was he's the right wing of the Republicans, isn't he?
Fillon, yeah, that's why it was Fillon and Le Pen are actually much closer than, say, Macron and Mélenchon.
You mean in Fillon and Macron?
Yeah, the left-wing ones are far more distant than the right-wing ones, and the right-wing ones, because they effectively, if there were one candidate who represented the Republicans in the Front National and just kind of shifted to the right somehow, they would win in a landslide.
Well, I don't know if they'd win a landslide, but they'd have an actual...
Well, they would win at least like Bolsonaro won. They would win in a landslide in the first one and then win pretty well in the second one.
Oh, by the way, how fucking awesome is it that Bolsonaro's in power now?
I think that Bolsonaro, as I said before in my video about Bolsonaro is a hope for the world. Obviously, I disagree with him on economics, but I don't think he'll follow through. Part of that is that within the Americas, libertarianism is a thing because of kind of this racial system where the blacks in America, United States, and Brazil kind of just get away with whatever, and they get this welfare. So
also, it's a kleptocracy.
Well, yeah, it's a kleptocracy. So I mean, it kind of, I don't know if I was in Brazil, I don't know what I would advocate economically. So I just look the other way on that.
Also, it's corrupt and inefficient, and I mean,
also
the first day he removed gays as a protected group.
That's so fucking based.
And he said the savages of the rainforest have no rights.
Well, you think that cannibals should be allowed to live? I mean, honestly speaking, why? If all these people say that they're committing genocide indirectly to these cannibals, they're forgetting the fact that they're goddamn motherfucking cannibals. What kind of person allows a cannibal to live? I'm seriously though, they're cannibals. They're a whole entire tribe of fucking 50 IQ Ted Bundys that eat each other. What, like, how can you have any sympathy for these people? Haven't you seen Cannibal Holocaust?
Mm-hmm. No, it's what else?
Just
Like he did a whole bunch of shit. Let me look it up. I know we're talking about Europe, but I like Bolsonaro posting. Okay, so what was it? I think he abolished gender education.
Mhm.
Let's see here.
Isn't he started firing vast swaths of the bureaucracy? Or is,
I think
I
something
didn't
like
read
that.
through the article. Do you think that he won't
I'll,
go coup?
I don't know. What my LARP is that they restore the empire and the house of Bolsonaro becomes a
Like a shogun? Shogun.
that is my LARP.
But is there legitimate pretenders to Brazil?
Yes.
Are they popular within Brazil?
Okay, Bolsonaro's new minister of education eliminated diversity programs, saying that the job of school is to prepare people for jobs instead of socialist ideas.
Yes.
Let's see here. He said he tweeted at Trump, "Dear Mr. President Trump, I truly appreciate your words of encouragement. Together under God's protection, we shall bring prosperity and progress to our people."
He's the chosen one. Do you think he'll auto
Like,
like Fujimori?
I don't know. He actually won by more than I thought he might. He actually won by like a decent amount.
How much do you think he won by in real time, like legally speaking, though?
Probably like 60 to 65%.
Okay. This kind
I could do like a whole video of just based shit that Bolsonaro said.
well, you should. You know, you should create like
Yeah.
an economy strong, Bolsonaro based, and
Mhm.
just do like 1 minute videos on it. Like 1 minute, just like
I'm
this is
trying
something.
to remember. They appointed like a really based um woman in charge of one of the departments who's like an anti-feminist, and she's like, it's time for the church to govern, I think is what she said upon taking office. Um I don't know. I think it's gonna be awesome. I there's a video I haven't put up yet, but there's gonna be a fucking refugee crisis in like North America on the scale of Europe.
What do you in because of Mexico?
In Venezuela,
I don't
they're
know.
already
So I think AMLO is actually like base Nazbol. From my
really.
understanding, the new president of Mexico, from my understanding, again, this came from me listening to an unreparable source who I actually think is less reparable than the Daily Stormer, which is Fash the Nation, was that they're giving these massive tax incentives on the border so that people in the border won't cross over in the United States. That they're trying to foster like disproportionate tax incentives to businesses in the border provinces of Mexico.
Okay, so far 4 million Venezuelans have left the country
Oh,
and
you mean
gone to Suriname.
yeah, but not North America. You mean South America? There has been
Yeah,
a
I don't know. I could see them start to head in this direction.
with AMLO, or just Venezuela.
Yeah.
Do you? I think Brazil and Colombia should invade with U.S. air support. I think that
I mean,
Venezuela is
but as a Nazbol, shouldn't you like?
Maduro's not a
Didn't
socialist. Maduro
he's a
doesn't give any
kleptocrat?
kind of what he does is it's just a social welfare state with the use of oil, so that Venezuela does well if the cost of oil is good, and it does horrible as it is low to right now. I mean,
Mhm.
it's just a fucking piece of shit. Fuck that guy. Ludasenko could kick his fucking ass. I hope Ludasenko fucking fights him, beats the shit out of him.
Ecuador has 4,000 Venezuelans a day crossing the border. I think
isn't
it's
he
like 10 to 20% of
Ecuador and
Ecuador's
Colombia
population.
unstable?
Sorry?
I mean, I talk to Brazilians and they say that a lot of the criminals, and I mean, Brazil's a country that's known for its murder rate and crime rate, but Venezuela collapsing and the refugees are actually increasing the crime dramatically in Brazil. But again, this isn't anything I read in an article. This is just me talking to Brazilians.
Okay, the last year. Okay, so Ecuador's population might be like 20% Venezuelan now.
Yeah. I mean, it's like
But it's
Syria is getting to that point. Wasn't there like prolonged protest in Venezuela which were destabilizing the country? Are those still happening? Wasn't there a lot of people killed?
What happened in Venezuela is they had a semi-legitimate election and the opposition won like 90% of the seats. So Maduro just created a completely new like assembly that only has people from the ruling party.
Okay. So he just
So they
Congress
they created a new assembly.
Did he just make the Congress basically irrelevant?
Yeah, he introduced the Venezuelan Constitute Assembly, in which more than 3 people voted in the last 5 minutes of the election. Because the parliament won. Yeah, the opposition got 60% of the vote, despite the vote being rigged. They still won because that's how unpopular he is.
This is the same thing that happened in Zimbabwe. That the
so they
instituted
the.
So he just said it didn't happen, and then he just killed everyone that was ahead of the opposition and forced them to flee.
Well, they made an entirely new house of their Congress. That's hilarious.
He appointed it.
Yeah, he just appointed it. No, there was an election, but let me see what it was. It was like the last 5 minutes or something. There was over 3 million votes. Let's see here. Let's see. The opposition claimed fewer than 2 million people voted. The government claimed 8 million people voted. Let me see here. Okay, sorry, here we go. 4 million votes were cast before 30 minutes before polls closed. How fun? That's not even trying to hide it. But sorry, we're getting way off topic. Okay, so back to Europe. So what do you think is going to happen with Brexit?
With Brexit, I don't think it's going to happen.
You don't think it's going to happen?
No. How long? How many years has it been? Going on
2 or 3 now. Oh, is it 4 years now? Wow. I mean, they're set to leave in March,
wasn't it? So it's 3.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
They're set to leave in March. Well, didn't you say that it was just going to go to the Supreme Court, and then the Supreme Court would basically just say, no, we ain't leaving, and then they'll just say,
I have no idea.
Their hands, and then just be like, we're done.
Because I don't really know what is going to happen with it, because Theresa May is pretty much committed to leaving. I don't know what her game is. Theresa May is terrible, but I think what might happen is Britain leaves the EU, but it's still bound by everything in the EU, if that makes sense.
No, what I think will happen is Britain will leave the EU next year, then the next year, then the next year, then the next year, then the next year. And it'll just be these it'll be bound by everything in the EU, but they'll keep postponing it indefinitely if they ever leave. And I'm not even sure that they will leave. I mean, there's constantly I mean, if I look up Brexit right now, UK government defeated in vote. MPs create new obstacle to no Brexit deal. For Japan, the fear is real that May's Brexit gets shot down.
Mm-hmm. So I don't know what the hell's going on in Britain.
I mean,
it is.
I mean, they're like the UK, United Kingdom media is constantly running, just like Nazis attack, pro-Brexit Nazis kill Packies. Oh no! And it's just like nonstop, just this fake news.
The Conservatives might win re-election. Interestingly, they're tied with Labour.
Didn't she almost get kicked out? Didn't she almost get kicked out in a vote of no confidence recently?
I don't know. I actually think the last election was probably the best case scenario because the base DUP.
I'm sorry, I support Jeremy Corbyn at this point.
Really?
Yeah.
But he'd bring in he'd open the floodgates.
No, effectively, both the Conservative Party and the Labour Party are both pro-immigrant. Jeremy Corbyn was much more pro-Brexit prior to Brexit, and it seems that he's just doing that for election to be anti-Brexit. I actually think that Jeremy Corbyn would be more pro-Brexit than Theresa May. Jeremy Corbyn is also NATO skeptical.
You know what's funny? You know what's horseshoe theory is how Theresa May
foreign policy actually.
It's funny how Theresa May banned porn.
Yeah, but isn't it like feminist bullshit they use to justify it?
Yeah, but it's fucking horseshoe theory.
Yeah, but I have this like back of my mind, like basically fundamentalist, like Catholic like thing where it's like if you ban porn, like if people can't get porn, then men will just automatically overnight become masculine and they'll fucking overthrow all the bullshit. Because porn is such a repressant on masculinity.
Yeah. But no, like the UK I think is fucked. The interesting thing though is
their electoral system is completely fucked. The Tory party is seeming. I mean, what power does Boris Johnson have? Boris Johnson would have to kick out. Theresa May would have to lose a vote of no confidence. How would Boris Johnson would have to take control of the party, and their system is party centric, so it's not like
why do people think that
states where Trump can win a presidential primary? What?
Why do people think Boris Johnson is based?
Well, he's the most popular person to the right of Theresa May. But
he's super socially liberal.
Yeah, exactly. That's the best you fucking got there. You're talking about a country where Sargon of Akkad is far right. You're talking about a country where it's hate speech to criticize the government killing 4-year-olds.
Yeah. It is. I think it's something our mutual friend said. At this point, God loves China more than he loves the UK.
No, China is a far less totalitarian society, I think. Well, I mean, I'd rather live in China as a Chinese person than live in the United Kingdom as a British person, as an ethnic Brit.
Yeah, that's very true.
Because first of all, it's illegal not to pay the BBC a tax. They'll break into your home and steal your stuff when you're not home because you didn't pay a tax regardless if you don't watch television or not. What kind of fucking horse shit is that? Do you know what I'm talking about?
The licensing fee.
Yes, the licensing. How is that not extortion? You have to watch fucking black cuckold porn that doesn't have sex without the sex. And if you don't, you can not watch it, but you still have to pay for it. And they'll break in your house if you refuse to pay for black cuckold porn without the sex. And they'll steal your shit to compensate. What kind of fucked up state does such a thing? It's an abomination.
Golden British liberty. Well, part of the issue is I feel like the British government's more effective at enforcing it than the German government is. So I think the German government's scared a bit about the whole like being Nazi thing. But
I think the other thing is the German government had the DDR, and that the DDR,
okay.
like the DDR had like ended up with like Paki or Indie like people in it. So then they started supporting like skinhead death squad or skinhead gangs to beat them up and to try and incentivize them to leave the country in the 80s.
The what was I thinking of then? Completely lost my train of thought there. Oh, okay, you know what it is. Okay, so this is how our mutual friend described it. He said, okay, Sweden is a Melvin who's getting cucked, whereas the UK is a Chad who's getting cucked. So he is convinced that Ahmed is his son. He's 100% convinced that Ahmed is his son, and he's enforcing it in kind of a Chad way. Whereas Sweden is convinced that Ahmed's his son, but he's enforcing it in more of a Melvin way.
Well, I mean,
I don't know if that
seriously though, how does like, so you have a system where the political parties are in like absolute control, that they disagree with the populace. I mean, I'm talking about the Tory party here. That the Tory party doesn't match up with what the voters of the Tory party do, and that there's such a elite within the Tory party that there's no effective way to change it, and that you have a single district plurality, so you can't create a new party. The
UKIP actually kind of makes the situation.
What?
UKIP kind of makes the situation worse, to be honest.
Why?
It just splits the right-wing vote.
Well, yeah, it's a single district plurality, so a new party can't arise, except for regionally. You can only get regional support, so like, and that's in the regional thing is going to slowly break up the United Kingdom anyway, because now you're at the point where there's Welsh parties that have representation, and you have the
but what
Welsh party.
No, I don't think Wales is ever going to leave. Wales voted for Brexit.
That, but what I'm talking about is that it's making the system. It's going to gum up the system. It's gumming up their electoral system by having all these like what do you call them? These regional parties which want more and more autonomy.
Right.
I mean, look at the United Kingdom. Since 2015, when was the vote on secession for Scotland? Was that 2014 or 2015?
Yeah, maybe. I don't remember. I think it was 15, or maybe it was. I actually don't recall.
Okay, so in 5 years, less than 5.5 years, you've had 2 sweeping referendums and 2 general elections. That is a lot of votes going in that country. That you almost had 3 general elections in the last. So you would have in 4.5 years, you would have had 3 general elections and 2 sweeping referendums, which would massively change the state.
Right, and none of them wound up mattering.
Kind of a stable state.
Well, and none of them mattered in the end because we're not getting Brexit, even though the people voted for Brexit. They had at least 2 elections. I would argue they had 2 general elections because part of David Cameron's platform was
allow
Brexit.
To vote on Brexit, a referendum.
And then they had an election which was about whether or not Theresa May had a mandate to initiate Brexit, which she won. And you'll say, well, it's coalition.
But she won because part of the problem is she's in coalition with the DNP, and the DNP doesn't want Brexit because Ireland.
They want Brexit.
I thought the DNP is against Brexit because the Republic of Green Kyrgyzstan, which imports more and more blacks so they can steal my racial brethren, who are now drunk whores that need abortions. Drunk lesbian neo-pagan whores that need abortions. So because they're going to destroy the Easter Accord on their way out. Because
I
I thought that
think
there
the
was a
DUP
massive
wants
problem with the Easter agreement, that Brexit will destroy the Easter agreement.
no. Okay, the DUP supported Brexit
Oh, are
during the referendum. They're a lot more hardcore. I mean, there is
you sure?
there is yeah. I mean, yeah. Maybe you're thinking of someone else. They were the only party in North Ireland to back Brexit. Um, well, the DUP is actually
Guardian. Brexit deal hinges on final bid to win over DUP, says senior Tories.
oh, okay. Maybe things have changed.
No, it's not. It's the DUP is much more right wing than the Tory party, but the DUP is pro European Union because part of the Easter Accord, the 1998 Easter Agreement, has to do with the European Union.
Okay, the DUP in the 80s had a Save Ulster from Sodomy campaign.
I'm not anti DUP. I'm just saying part of the problem is that the DUP is anti-Brexit for obvious reasons.
Okay, but I don't. They aren't officially, but I guess in practice they are.
Oh, I thought they were officially.
I don't know. They backed it during the referendum.
Or the Good Friday, not the Easter Good Friday agreement. Sorry.
They really it's funny because they really hate the let's see here. They really hate the whole UK government because of they feel that they're cucking to the Republicans too much.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
But
it's a regional party that's pro, in as opposed to pro more power for Northern Ireland. It's pro union, right?
yeah, they're extremely pro union. But no, I think the UK is fucked. I don't really know what
The UK's political system is completely doomed. I see no way out.
Yeah.
I guess it's not our country, so can I say something that's radical?
Sure.
There cannot be radical changes at the overthrow of the current political government, the current state of the United Kingdom.
Yeah, I would
The
tend to
country
agree.
cannot be saved without. I think that if some extremely popular figure won the presidency in France, or if there was a coup d'état in France, which is actually not that impossible because it's historically happened within my father's lifetime in France with the coup. Yeah, so France is a lot. I think the United Kingdom, the government, there has to be like a Bolshevik or a French style revolution is the only way.
I'm a lot more optimist. It's weird because the demographic situation is worse in France, but I'm also kind of more.
No, isn't it like 75% of births in, or it's only 75% of births in the United Kingdom are white, and that includes all the Eastern Europeans that have migrated there.
Right. But no, I mean the demographic situation is even worse in France. But France, I feel like there's a lot more opposition than just about anywhere else.
Yeah, but I think another
Western
thing
Europe
with France is that the demographic displacement or the Great Replacement in France has a different aspect because of Algeria was once part of France. So many of the Algerians that live in France have lived there for decades and view themselves as French. And even if they are Muslim, they view themselves as Frenchmen. They've lived there for, I mean, like the lifetime of my parents. They're highly Francoized. I'm not saying all Algerians, and Algerians, Berbers, if a Frenchman and a Berber have a baby, right? It's like a Frenchman and a Bulgarian having a baby.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like the country's taking in massive amounts of Pakistanis and Nigerians in Jamaica.
Right.
I mean, there are blacks in France. I think 4% of France is black. But
it's only 4%?
Yeah, it's only 4%. France is 89% white. Actually, it might
Oh,
be
I thought it was way worse than
4%.
that.
No, it's not that bad. It's not as bad as you. I mean, it's very bad. So Britain is actually less white, but there's a problem here because we don't know. I don't know how many like Eastern Europeans are in France. I assume it's less than Britain, because part of the problem is the whole thing where they're like, I hate the Poles. There's a lot of Eastern Europeans in the United Kingdom, so we don't know.
Pulls out, Packies in, Civic, as I like
Yeah.
to call it.
Well, okay, so Ryan Falk did the data on his France vid. So if you include Muslims and Africans as two completely different categories, I think it's like, or it was like 89%, and the United Kingdom, according to its own data, is like 87% white. And the other thing is the Algerians and to a certain extent the Tunisians are more Francoized, and obviously there's a lot more racial similarity between Tunisians and Frenchmen than between Britons and Nigerians
Packies?
and Pakis.
I don't know. I think we should let more in because they're of civic nationalism.
Yeah, civic nationalism let the Algerians in.
Do you think Sargon is more based than he lets on?
No, I think he's
You
probably
don't?
less.
Okay.
I think that's I don't watch Sargon's vids. They're too fucking boring, man. Do you watch them?
No, Sargon's really fucking boring.
I think that the thing is that I don't think he cares that much. I think he's more interested in being a YouTube personality than the politics.
In making money?
Yeah.
Let me think. So what do you think about Vox winning a couple seats? I mean, they didn't win very many seats.
Doesn't the so they keep having minority governments. I don't know that much about Spain. Don't they keep having minority governments?
Yes.
And now the
Mhm.
Socialist Party is like doing all kinds of out of control shit. And it looks like there's like conspiracy theories that part of the reason that they are given election is they're legitimately just going to let Catalonia go.
Yeah, because one of the issues in
Going
Spain
and
was
picking
that
up all the boats in the middle of the Mediterranean and like dumping them in Spain now.
part of the issue is in the recent, okay, so I'm trying to remember what happened.
It's a regional election.
Okay, so because a very strong left-wing populist party emerged, like a far left party, which is called Podemos or Yes We Can.
Mm-hmm.
That's literally what it is. Yes We Can. Won a bunch of seats, and then another theoretically center-right party emerged, like Macron Light, called the Citizens. It resulted in a hung government, and the Citizens and what's it called again? People's Party didn't have the votes to form a coalition government, and the socialists and the Podemos didn't have enough votes to form a coalition government.
Minority socialist caretaker government, and then it's doing right.
Yeah, because so there was actually the People's Party continued to run for like the country for a couple of years. So
I don't know that much about Spain, so you kind of would have, I can't really support you there talking about it. I know that I think Sweden's reaching an impasse too.
see, what do you think actual support is for the Democrats?
Sweden Democrats?
Yeah.
I think it's matches its numbers that they get in votes. The problem is that
you don't think they?
Oh, do I think that they? Well, I'm sure that like in municipalities they rigged it, but the Sweden Democrats win municipalities. What happens is it's so weird in Sweden is that the rural areas give overwhelming support for the Social Democrats in Sweden.
Really?
Yeah, you didn't look up a map of Sweden sometime. It's actually the metropolitan areas which are dominated by the Sweden Democrats. The Swedish welfare system is really good, and in fact, that's the reason that they vote for them. that like rural people vote for the social welfare system of Sweden despite the demographic displacement because they're in rural areas, so it doesn't affect them at all. So a city like Malmo could become, well, it probably is at this point, majority Muslim, but it doesn't really matter to rural people. They just vote for the social welfare thing and say it's not their problem. Because again, Sweden
Right.
is a Protestant country like the United Kingdom, and they have a very individualistic thing. You have to remember in 1960, this Church of Sweden had female ministers.
Right.
Maybe 1958. Like Sweden's in a trajectory of its own. I think that Norway is like the past 10 years it had female ministers, the Church of Norway, and that was a massive battle. And I think it was just kind of forced top down, unlike Sweden where it's popular.
Demographically, actually, the other Nordic countries aren't that bad.
No, I think Norway's 93% white, and Denmark might be better. And the other thing is there's a right-wing populist party in coalition with Norway. Norway's not part of the European Union either.
In
Time
yeah,
will
there's a
tell
coalition government in
Norway. Norway's in, as far as Western Europe goes, outside of Italy, maybe even better than Italy. Norway's in one of the best positions.
I'd say in terms of countries I think will survive mostly intact. I'd say probably Norway, Denmark,
Yes, Denmark and
and
Norway are doing actually better than all of the rest of Northern Europe or of Latin.
I don't know what Finland's like these days.
I don't. I think there's a populist party that has support equal to say, above like Front National. I don't know that much about Finland. Like,
The Finns don't have that
7%
much support.
white. And as this thing goes, that's just going to, like, you're going to reach a threshold where the Great Replacement has no, like, within the next 10 years has no credibility whatsoever. And when you have a state where it's like 95% white, then you're going to start reversing that. And Sweden and like Finland will be Finland. But I mean, when you like, if the United Kingdom at that point is like 72% white or something insane, like that's really like you've transformed it into the United States like of the 1990s at that point.
The oh, was it? It wasn't the UK. It was let me try to find. I think of all the countries in Europe, I actually have the most hope for Italy at the moment.
I think Italy has a will to fight that is far beyond that. That is beyond that of all the others combined.
Like if there's a re-election, the Liga would like double its vote share.
I think there's another thing here is that you talked about this before when you talked about Justin Trudeau, is that within democratic societies you have the rise of like the band geek, the loser, leading the society of the wimpling, and that people end up dominating stuff. And when you get somebody like I forgot, what's the interior minister and vice prime minister of Mario Matteo?
I think so. Of
Italy. He's so much more charismatic than somebody like Justin Trudeau and somebody like Jair Bolsonaro. These people, and to a certain all but lower this Donald Trump. When you have somebody like that, the idea, like NPCs like them, and you need to run people like that instead of somebody like Jeb Bush or anybody in the Bush family. There's so much more.
No, people want a strong male to rule them.
They don't want to be ruled by Theresa May, and they don't want to be ruled by Justin Bieber, and they don't want to be ruled by.
They don't want to be ruled by figs. I can't say what I want to say.
Faggot Packy Teshiok.
The head of the Socialist Party in Canada is a Sikh who wears a pink turban.
Yes. Why would you want to be ruled by that? Why would Sikhs even want to be ruled by that?
Yeah.
It's the worship of weakness. But anyway, Sweden has not formed a government, right? How has it been? How many months has it been?
Oh, they haven't?
No, Sweden hasn't formed a government, right?
Oh, is that because the Democrats have hold the balance of power?
No, the balance of power is dead even between the Democrats and the center right party, and they can't form it because or the center right coalition and the Social Democratic Party, and they can't form it because the alliance is the coalition, and they can't form it. There's a multitude of reasons. It's like impossible for them to form it because in order to form a government, the Sweden Democrats need to approve the alliance, but all the minority neoliberal parties will not accept anything with the Social Democrats. Or not the Social Democrats, the Sweden Democrats at the same time. So these minority parties within the alliance who pledged on not forming a coalition with the with the Social Democratic Party.
Swedish Democrats.
No, the social, because there's these minority parties there's all these minority parties that are part of the alliance with the moderate party, like the center party and the Christian Democrats and the liberals that are part of the alliance. And that what basically has to happen is they have to break off and become part of a new alliance and force because their ideology is that they want to destroy the social welfare state in Sweden because they're like these really evil libertarian motherfuckers. So, but they're also really anti.
What didn't the social welfare state work pretty well in Sweden if it wasn't for mass third world filth?
Well, it's still working. It's still working despite the weight of mass immigration in Sweden.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, see, saying it here, it's Sweden Christian Democrats. Okay, yeah, they can't. The parties cannot form a coalition with each other. So when was the election again? Wasn't it September? It's been in hung parliament since September, and there's no way for them. So we'll see if there's a new election, and if there's a new election, the Sweden Democrats will only gain, which will mean that which would make it even harder to form a government. Didn't Belgium last 2 years without government though?
Something like that.
I mean,
who would you give the most fuck? Other than maybe. I mean, sorry?
Is there somebody from Sweden that wants to come in? There's somebody in the chat that wants to come in that's from Sweden.
Oh, Whitey, do you want to come on? Okay, here, let me just send Whitey a link. Okay. And you can come in and tell us about. Okay, there you go, Whitey. I sent you a link.
Is he on your Discord channel?
Yeah. Yeah, actually, he does the you know how I have China economy strong and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. He does the graphics. So.
Oh, okay.
But okay, so who's the most fucked?
Sweden is in a way better position than the United Kingdom is.
Because there is a large opposition to it.
Yeah, the other thing is that I think that the Sweden Democrats are far more right wing, the people within it, than the party is.
Do you think it's kind of a case where they're more based than we think? They just have to play the game?
Yeah, I mean, one of their party platforms is introducing a predator database.
Right.
They don't have a sexual predator database.
I love how they call that discriminatory or whatever.
Yeah. One of their platforms is introducing life sentences.
Uh-huh.
It's not just they don't have a death penalty; they don't have life sentences there.
Oh, that's what I liked about. Okay, as much as I hate Breivik, and I'm sorry if I'm a cock, but I don't like Breivik. The whole
So you're a
troll.
cop for not liking somebody that killed white children.
No, but they were socialist children.
Yeah, the socialist children that the vast majority of rural people vote for,
Yeah.
the people that are the most Swedish.
hmm Yeah. I'm sorry. I don't know. Breivik is
I
just.
don't know.
I
Not having a PlayStation 3 though.
I
That
like that troll though. That troll is hilarious.
it doesn't matter that I think that there's very few games of that generation that are as good as like a lot of the games of maybe it's just like 30-year-old boomer talk here. We already did that video. Is Whitey coming?
I don't know. Let me see. Is he messaging me? I sent him a message on Discord. But no, but I like that troll. And I hate Breivik, but I thought that was really funny that they're such cucks that they fucking gave him a PlayStation 3
Well, at the
on human
time,
rights.
both Breivik and Varg had the longest sentences in the history of since their reform of their system. Like there
Right.
were like record-breaking sentences of like 21 and 23 years or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Make this a thing. Have more people from chat on during streams. Okay, the reason I don't is because the last couple times I do that, somebody sends the link to like random people, and then
Remember
we
the
get people
guy
who
that
come
kept
on.
flashing black dick?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I just like making videos with Argent just with me though too.
Uh-huh.
Sorry if that's greedy to like use Argent as a platform to get my channel more subscribers arrogantly.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so they're fucked. I think the UK might be them. I don't know. Spain is pretty high too. To
Do
be
you want to
honest.
talk about Germany?
Sure. Okay, no. How fucked is Germany? Because I can't tell.
I can't tell. Germany is like Austria. Germany could end up okay.
You think Austria might
Probably
make
as
it out of
fucked as
this?
France demographically. Okay, well, Austria. I mean, we're talking about democracy, right? We're not talking
Yeah.
about. Sorry if I kind of. So, the CDU could have a leadership change in the next election, and then coalition with Alternative for Deutschland,
AFD.
just
Yeah.
like Austria, and then that could, if that happens in Germany, then the jig is up, because Germany is the center of the European Union. Now the problem is, if that happens, are you still anti-European Union? If Germany uses its power, if that coalition comes up and Germany starts like putting pressure on the United Kingdom, but still there in France to like stop with a great replacement, are you're anti-European Union?
No, I'm just a pragmatist, so sure. Whatever it takes to get.
I oppose the European Union for ideological reasons beyond demographic displacement.
I'm not against having some sort of European
I think it's gone too
federation or
far.
something.
I think a NAFTA would be much better than a European Union. A NAFTA.
I think aspects of it, like integrating the rail network and like freedom of movement, in that you don't need to stop at every border and that kind of thing.
I think that I think that it'll only end up like these countries becoming little bitches of Germany, though. I mean,
I jokingly call it the Fourth Reich.
well, yeah. We'll see how their demographics is going to go with Germany. Is Whitey coming?
No, he can't come at the moment.
Oh, is Merkel, when's she leaving?
I don't know. I think she'll be there forever.
No, I thought she's resigning.
Maybe. I mean, the thing with Germany is feel like we have to get rid of Merkel. I'm like, well, but then that means the Socialist Party will come to power. And who knows? They might not be as bad because it's hard to imagine anyone being as bad as Merkel. Like, how can you be
Well,
that
she's
bad?
not the leader of the party, but she's going to be chancellor.
Right.
I think that Merkel is worse because she effectively co-ops the like right wingers.
Mm-hmm.
I think that that's worse. Like I rather have Obama be president than have Jeb be president.
You know what? We could almost some other time we should do a whole stream just on John McCain because you have a lot to say about him. Well, I guess we can talk about it briefly now.
Well, it's my thoughts aren't organized. Like, what do you mean? I have a lot to say about John McCain. Just about
the shit that he did.
The wet start where he killed all the people and his daddy got him out okay.
Yeah.
Well, John McCain didn't follow protocols when he was a fighter pilot on a carrier, and I don't understand that much about. I'm interested in like military stuff, but I don't know everything there is to know. So John McCain had like fuel somehow in the gas. I don't know exactly how it works. He had fuel in the engine, and then he turned it on, so he had this wet start of an engine, which caused the thrusters to start a massive fire, which killed like 15 people. This would end in like dishonorable discharge, but because John McCain's father, from my understanding, he was also heavily involved with the USS Liberty incident, not unsurprisingly, got John McCain out of it. And he was later, of course, shot down in Vietnam. Now, I have not been captured and tortured, so I'm not going to say that it was a bad person, but I'm also going to say somebody shouldn't be viewed as a hero when they tell all the secrets that they know to an enemy.
I maybe I'm alone in not blaming him for that.
What?
Maybe I'm alone in not blaming him for that.
No, I said I'm not blaming him for it, but I don't think that you should call him a hero. I think you should just call him.
Well, he did suffer for his country.
Yeah, but do we call the people that confessed everything to North Korea heroes in the Korean War? We just call him a hero because he got shot down and then became senator, and he covered up all these facts. Have you seen Rambo? Well, obviously you've probably seen Rambo 2, right?
Yeah.
Remember the whole problem with all these like POWs that were supposedly never released by Vietnam after the Paris Accords in 73? Yeah. So John McCain had a bill that would he co-sponsored alongside John Kerry that prevented congressional investigation of such a thing. Because
didn't John Kerry lie about it? Like he said, when he saw all this like bad shit happen, that didn't actually happen.
Well, because what would happen in such an investigation is it was possible that their hero ships would be destroyed. So they did so to prevent the sabotaging of the political clears. Because both of them in 2004 and John McCain ran twice for president, right? They both ran for the presidency. They both lost. John McCain was also involved with like the banking failures in the investing and loan crisis in the 1980s in the United
Savings
States.
and loan crisis, I think it's called.
Yes. John McCain was pretty heavily involved, from my understanding, too.
Right.
John McCain also like wanted to start a conventional war with Russia over the Russo-Georgian War in 2008.
Yeah, I mean, who cares about that?
John McCain also did bomb Iran.
Yeah, like I think you've said in the past you would have voted for Obama over John McCain.
Well, I think I would have voted like some far LARPy like party if I
the Constitution Party or something.
would have voted. What was like there's like a new party that is like, I'll look up the third parties if I have.
Freedom Party.
It might be this Freedom Party.
The Constitution Party is the largest far right party in the United States.
Is it far right or is it just more consistent than a Republican Party?
It's like a Christian theocratic party almost.
I would. What are all the? Why can't I? Third party U.S. I think I'd vote for the American Independent Party, the Independent American Party. I don't support like outright racism. Or is it America's Party? One of those. Like I support a more civic nationalist. Of course, I'm not pro like illegal immigration.
Mm-hmm. Yes, there's the Constitution Party.
So I support like I'm pretty woke on scientific racism. I just don't think that the United States, that's my view on America. I agree pretty much everything that Culture Thug does. Culture Thug has highly influenced my views on a civic nationalism. I mean, that has wrong connotations of like based black guys in Trump hats fucking like Lauren Southern, right? But but that's I don't believe in like taking Oregon over and Washington over and then seceding from the Union in some kind of LARP.
Implying that wouldn't be awesome.
I just don't think it's possible. I think it's more possible that you have some kind of military coup and then you have like a civic, like a highly American nationalist populist sort of
having a gay
so as Yugoslav nationalism was to Tito, in such a system American nationalism would be to it. That's how I see it, where the people are allowed to maintain their identity and their identity is fostered, but it's stressed the American identity above their identities to unify the state.
Mm-hmm. Right. It's just it's a fucking mess. The whole thing is a mess.
Somebody gave you $2. Does Conservative Vanguard, does he have any question for us?
Sure.
That's
like that's like a whole $3 Canadian. Thank you very much. That's gonna go straight to the bills.
When you're paying Argent's fucking dildo bills, electric dildo bills, you monster.
My taxes. I was actually doing my taxes the other day.
I haven't received. I'm not going to talk about this on air. I received one of my things, but I haven't received the others, so I can't start yet. But
just
what are your thoughts on Zizek? I haven't listened to Zizek since like 2013. I don't know.
Who's Zizek?
Slavoj Zizek. Generally in like 2013 and like 2012, I used to like watch him a lot, and I agreed with him a lot at that.
Sorry, who? I have no idea who.
Slavoj Zizek is a continental philosopher from Slovenia who advocates a socialism for the 21st century. He's very, I don't know if you want to call him socially conservative, but he's conscious of ethnic divides, and he's conscious of like, he's very anti-liberal. So in a way, I haven't looked through everything he said. I read 2 of his commentary books, but I never read any of his philosophy books. He combines Hegelianism with Freud and Lacan, which basically when I say that out loud, it makes me think that his examination of ideology through the lens of Lacan and Freud is basically worthless. because I don't think psychoanalysis is a kind of science in any way whatsoever. But you don't know who Zizek is?
No, I don't.
I would say that Zizek is important as a commentator, but I don't think he's a legitimate philosopher. Again, I've only read First A Year Dreaming Dangerously, and I read First as a Tragedy, Then as a Farce. I have Lost Causes, but I have not read it yet. I was going to read it pretty soon. I haven't looked at any of his recent commentary. What's your thoughts on Jared Taylor, Argent?
I haven't really read or seen that much of his stuff, to be
Jared
honest.
Taylor?
Yeah.
I read Paid with Intentions and why it was published at the time of my birth about. Big doxer, I guess. Jared Taylor's Paid with Good Intentions really, really brought home the extreme evil of affirmative action. And that if black, and he didn't talk about race realism within Paid with Good Intentions. What was implied through the failures of affirmative action was essentially that if blacks had an IQ equal to whites, the level of privileges they're given through affirmative action would mean that blacks would control the entire apparatus of the United States and be far more powerful than Jews are within it. Paid with Good Intentions for understanding black dysfunction, I would say, is essential. I wish that he would basically rewrite that book to update it. I've not read his book about Japan or his collection of essays or White Identity. I do try to watch every week or every other, or not watch, listen to his podcast he does with the guy who does stuff black people don't like. He goes by the name of Paul Curtis.
Right. You know what? I've kind of gotten back into Ramsey Paul lately.
You have? I don't know. Sometimes he interviews interesting people, but I would say Jared Taylor is a very good figure. Now, does Jared Taylor support what I support in terms of like the state apparatus, or is Jared Taylor critical of the fire sector and neoliberal economics? I don't think so. But what Jared Taylor is really good at is focusing on what he is. He's very specialized and very good at focusing on the Great Replacement and black dysfunctionality. He's a very, very good source for that.
Paul Kersey, that's his name.
Yep.
I think.
Have I heard of
Eric
Stryker? I very much like Eric Stryker.
I like what he did with Wolverine. That was a good idea.
What?
Oh, that's the Colonel Stryker is the guy who
Oh yeah, Colonel Stryker was fucking based. And whenever I watch X-Men 2, I can't watch the X-Men series. This is a video we should actually talk about, is like identifying with another race against humans and how cucked it is.
Mm-hmm.
I've been unable to do that in any film I've ever seen. Does that mean I'm based, or does that mean I'm a psychopath?
A little from column A, a little from column B.
Okay. Do you want to end this, or?
Yep, I think that's a good place to end off, because Trump is doing his speech. I don't want to take people away from the. The dear leader.
What's happening? Is he doing it right now? Right now?
I think so. Or
God
he will
damn
start.
it! We should. Maybe you could stream that on
He's starting at 9. No, I don't want to get this channel taken down. So.
Okay, 9 your time.
Yeah. So now
he started 5 minutes ago.
Just started. Yeah.
Okay.
So, thanks for coming on as always. The audience always likes to have you on. Likes it when I have you on. We have a couple more topics we'll do later. I do definitely want to do that once you finish those other books. The one on the Soviet Union will be really interesting.
I've been reading I've been reading. I read the Last Empire, and now I'm reading Losing Military Supremacy. I plan to read The Oligarchs, Land at the Borderlands about Ukraine, extremism in Ukraine. So I'll be able to talk about in depth about the collapse of the Soviet Union and the tensions between Ukraine and Russia.
Okay. So, night, everybody. God bless you. And yeah, see you. Talk to you guys.